Alright, YouTube. Time has run out on me. It's T-minus several hours before battery day, and I really wanted to get something out to talk about this tablet's design because I really think it's going to be groundbreaking, and Elon will probably do a really good job of explaining it, but I want to see if I can take a crack at it before he does. I'm going to apologize in advance for no fancy graphics. You're just going to have to watch me driving around for a little bit. Sorry, but I didn't have time for anything else. I think this all comes down to the tablet's design. I don't think we're going to hear much about the dry cathode. It's not really, groundbreaking from an owner's perspective. That's a manufacturing thing. And none of this is going to matter to anybody who already has a Tesla. This will be for Teslas produced probably in 2 years or so. That's just a rough guess. I have really no idea on that one. But what's so incredible about this is if you understand, and there's a lot of great videos on YouTube that I'll link below, a couple of them, that give great descriptions of exactly on what happens on a sort of physics and chemical basis with batteries as you charge and discharge them. But if we think about just what this tablet's design would do and why it's so important, it really comes down to one thing: heat, and actually reducing heat. The biggest problem with rechargeable batteries and maintaining their charge capacity comes down to heat. Most of the damage that occurs, which includes plating of the anode, growing of the SEI layer, and stuff like that, that all happens because of heat. And if you can reduce the heat, you can charge without causing much damage. And this is where the tablet's design comes in, because unlike the conventional rechargeable battery with lithium, it doesn't really matter what kind, they're all really structured the same kind of way. There's the tab, and the tab is what connects the terminal on the end of the battery to the foil, either the anode or the cathode. And in the case of batteries, the cathode is aluminum and the anode is copper foil. And on the foil is a graphite matrix, which is used to hold the lithium ions once they've been charged with the extra electron. And that's what those videos will show you. Really good examples. But if we think about the tab design, that's a single basic entry point for all electrons coming into the foil. And once they get into the foil, they'll start to build up a charge on that part of the foil that then is going to have to be pushed out or distributed across the foil all the way to the end. And if you've taken chemistry or physics, you may understand that the electrons, when they come into this conductor, the conductor doesn't move. The electron hops from molecule to molecule to molecule to molecule, going from valence shell from one to another to another to another. And every time one of those little hops happens, it's because of a result of a little magnetic charge that's going to repel and push it over. And every single time an electron pops out of a shell and deposits itself into a new shell, and then gets pushed out again and deposits itself again, the popping out requires energy, and it takes a lot of energy, believe it or not. Luckily it's magnetic energy, but it takes a lot of energy to pop that thing out. And this magnetic energy is coming from electrical energy, which is a force potential that's upstream in the charge circuit. So as this push happens and it ripples through the copper foil, this generates heat, and this heat is bad for the battery. It causes the plating, like I said, on the graphite matrix, and we really can't do anything about it until we look at a tablet's design. And if you imagine that this foil is attached to either the positive or negative end of the battery at every point along the edge of the foil. So let's just say, for example, the copper foil is going to be attached to the negative end, the anode, and the cathode is going to be attached to the positive end of the battery. Now you have close to, I'll say an infinite number of entry points onto the foil. It's really a finite number of entry points, but it's a really large number. In any event, the maximum distance an electron is going to have to travel is across the plate on the end of the battery, and then across the foil from one side of the foil to the other. It doesn't have to go from end to end anymore. Maybe it's a little bit more because it's got to go a little left or a little right rather than straight across. But it's a lot better than going through the jelly roll. So this is incredible because the distance it's got to travel is far less. That means far less heat's going to be produced. Far less heat being produced means you can actually charge faster. So charge rates on lithium are suggested to be around 8/100ths of a C, which on a Model 3 2170, that would probably mean, 500 milliamps. If you've got a Model 3 long range with 4,418 cells, I think, the charge rate, even at 120 kilowatts, is going to be around 100 milliamps, which is totally fine. 500 amps distributed across 5,000 cells. We're talking something that's manageable here, right? 1/10 of an amp. That's not a big deal. But if we could go faster, because we're going to be building up less heat, that may be awesome. I don't think it's going to do anything that's going to help with the 80% maximum for daily use, because I still think that the internal resistance and heat that's generated once a battery gets to that charge level is not going to change. That's not going to change probably ever. So luckily, the battery management system, the BMS, does a good job of cutting your charge rate down at that point to kind of keep the battery from getting even hotter. But if you've ever had the ability to watch your battery temperature as it charges, you will see that the heat increases greatly, even though it's got liquid cooling and the BMS is trying to keep that thing cool. It's still getting really warm. Lithium batteries don't like to be any warmer than 70 degrees Fahrenheit. That's great if you live in the Bay Area in California, where the nominal temperature is about 70 degrees. Winter, summer, spring, and fall. You get a couple days where it's a little cooler and a couple days where it's a little warmer, but not many. But for the rest of us, that's not an ideal temperature. When you charge, your battery gets stressed. That's stuff that is going to cause degradation. So this tabless design is probably going to speed up charge times, because we'll be able to get higher than 8/100ths of a C. So what I'm saying is, with lower heat generated during charging, you can charge faster. Charging faster means less time at a charge station, right? I would still probably suggest charging as much as you can with the high-powered wall charger, because the power supplied to the battery is much lower there. The only thing we really know for sure is that less power for lithium is better when charging. These aren't like NiCad batteries, which love a lot of current. These batteries are extremely sensitive, so try to take care of them as best you can. I can't wait to hear what Elon says, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about batteries. I think this stuff is fascinating, but I've still got a lot to learn.